Hello friends, welcome to EduTap. In this particular video, we will be looking at economics and social issues. We will be discussing certain important MCQs for ESI, which can help us in RBI Grade B 2020 and NABARD Grade A 2020 and 2021 examination. ESI is a very important component. If you want to score good marks in these examinations, if you want to clear these examinations, we need to do well in ESI, and that is what we are trying to help you do by these live sessions. This is lecture 7. I hope that you have gone through lectures 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and you are benefiting from these lectures, and this is lecture number 7. This is a series of lectures that we are continuing for your ESI preparation. Stay home, stay safe, stay online. Do not spread corona. Do not endanger yourself. Whatever preparation has to be done can be done at home, can be done safely. Do that. Follow the courses that EduTap has launched for you. It will really help you in the examination, and you need not go anywhere. You need not look anywhere else so far as your preparation is concerned. And do take care of your health and the health of your near and dear ones. So far as NABARD exam is concerned, there is a very important update that you need to be aware about. First week of September 2020 has been that has been announced as the tentative period in which you can expect the phase 2 of the examination to take place. So the preliminary examination which had taken place on 25th February 2020, we are talking about the mains examination related with that preliminary examination. So the mains will be conducted tentatively in the first week of September. So get your, sort of pull your socks up and, gather your books, gather your notes and gather everything that you have to gather and start preparing for NABARD grade A examination part 2 of this examination, phase 2 of this examination. So we are offering you a 50% discount on the courses, right, related to NABARD grade A 2020. You have to use code NABARD 50 while enrolling. Keep this in mind, and you will be enrolling at a 50% off rate, and this is going to be very, very helpful. Do not take this lightly. Prepare wholeheartedly in this period and do not waste any single moment, any single day, I would say, and start as early as possible, start as soon as possible, and start as strong as possible. And I hope that we are able to help you in your journey. Let us begin our discussion of question number 1. We are going to talk about capital receipt and capital expenditure in this particular video. In the previous video, we had spoken about revenue receipt and revenue expenditure, and towards the end we had spoken about revenue deficit. In this particular video, we will be looking at capital receipt and capital expenditure. So what we are trying to do is that even through our live sessions, the concepts that we are trying to teach you, the limited concepts that we are trying to teach you, we want to teach you in a complete manner so that you are able to solve questions based upon those concepts in the examination. So the question that I have placed in front of you is that which of the following is a characteristic of capital receipt? It can create a financial obligation, it can cause a reduction of asset, it is non-recurring in nature, it can be redeemable in nature, all of the above. So these are the 5 options. You have to be very calm. You have to, if you wish, pause the video, take a second, breathe deep and think about the characteristics of capital receipts. The classical mistake that students will make at this point in time is that they may jumble up revenue receipts characteristic with capital receipts characteristic. This is exactly why revision is very important. This is exactly why being thorough with the syllabus, thorough with the content of the syllabus is very, very important, which we are trying to help you do through our courses on EduTap. So decide which of the following is a characteristic of capital receipt. Does it create financial obligation? What is the meaning of financial obligation? Does it cause a reduction of asset? What is the meaning of asset? Is it non-recurring in nature? Can it be redeemable? It can be redeemable in nature? So can capital receipts be considered to be redeemable in nature? What is the meaning of redeemable? All these things you have to consider, and based upon that you have to either decide out of A, B, C and D, and if you think that all of the above are characteristics of capital receipt, then your answer can be A. Then your answer can be E. You will be getting an opportunity to attempt this question after the explanation. Let me put the explanation in front of you now. I have not so far displayed the answer. So if you are still not sure, after the explanation, do try to attempt the same question, because at the end of the day we are supposed to be able to answer the questions in the examination. So whether now or after 2 minutes of explanation, it doesn't matter. What is important is that gather the knowledge and get the answer right? So let us gather the knowledge. Let us look at the characteristics of capital receipt. Now, whenever we speak about capital receipt, I want you to close your eyes and imagine government taking a loan, right? Whenever we talk about capital receipt, I want you to close your eyes and imagine government selling the land that belongs to it and getting some money in return. So what are the two things that you are imagining so far as capital receipt is concerned? The first thing that you are imagining is that the government is taking a loan, it is borrowing, and the second thing that I want you to imagine is government is selling something which belongs to the government and getting money in return. So if you have these two things in your mind, if you can imagine these two things by closing your eyes, you will be able to understand everything related to capital receipt in a very smooth manner. First point that you need to note so far as capital receipt is that they do create liability. What is liability? Liability means udhar, liability means borrowing, liability means a loan. That's something that I have to repay. You have to keep this in mind. So capital receipt, I told you two things. First thing I told you is close your eyes, imagine government taking a loan. So when government takes a loan, it is a liability, it has to be repaid, it has to be cleared off. So government creates a liability when it gets capital receipt. Second thing that you need to keep in mind is that when government receives capital receipt, it can lead to reduction of asset. I told you to imagine two things. Close your eyes and imagine government getting a loan, and close your eyes, government selling its land and getting some money in return. Now when the government is selling its land, what is it selling? It is selling an asset. What is an asset? Asset is something that belongs to the government. So if government is selling a particular asset to get some money, that money is capital receipt. So both these things I have explained to you intuitively when I have given you these examples of getting a loan and selling a land and getting money, and I have also placed the formal technical words in front of you that capital receipts create liability and capital receipts lead to reduction of assets. I would like to draw attention to the fact that when we had spoken about revenue receipts, we were very clear that it does not result into creation of liability, it does not result in reduction of asset. We were very clear about that, and while discussing capital receipt, we are very clearly telling you that capital receipts lead to creation of liability, capital receipts do lead to reduction of assets. Both those things are possible with capital receipt. The third thing that you need to keep in mind is that capital receipts are not recurring in nature. When we had spoken about revenue receipt and when we had particularly spoken about tax receipts in the previous lecture, we had said that they are recurring in nature in the sense that the government collects taxes every year without fail, without any kind of slip up. So government is collecting taxes every year, so that is like a recurring receipt because it comes to the government every year unfailingly. Now capital receipts are not recurring in nature. Government may take a loan, it may not take a loan. Government may sell its assets, government may not sell its asset, depending upon how much money that the government needs. If the government needs money, it will borrow. If the government needs money, it will sell its asset. If it doesn't need money, it will not do any of these things. So the idea is that the capital receipt is not recurring in nature. There is no guarantee that we are going to want capital receipts to come in every year. So they are not recurring in nature. And the next point is that they can be redeemable. What is the meaning of redeemable? Government has to return the capital receipt. Not necessarily, but it may be, may not be, which is exactly why we have written the word can. It is not always redeemable. Like for example, if government has taken a loan, then government needs to repay it. But if government has sold land to get capital receipt, so we don't have to return that money, right? Just imagine in your personal life that if you have sold your land to get some money, is that a loan? No, you have sold your land to get money. That money belongs to you, so you need not repay that money to anybody. But if you have taken a loan from somebody, then you need to repay. So capital receipt can be redeemable if it is in the form of a loan, if it is in the form of a borrowing. So if it is in the form of a loan or a borrowing, government will have to repay it, government will have to return it. But if it is in the form of but if we have got it by selling land, okay, then that is not redeemable because that belongs to the government and government does not have to repay it. So keep this distinction in mind. So based upon the discussion so far, what is it that we have established? Capital receipts create liability, reduce asset, it is not recurring in nature, and it can be redeemable. You have to keep this in mind, and you should not be confused so far as the characteristics of revenue receipts are concerned, which are diametrically opposite. Revenue receipts do not create liability, revenue receipts do not reduce asset, revenue receipts are recurring in nature, and revenue receipts are non-redeemable. So diametrically opposite are the characteristics of revenue receipt, and diametrically opposite to revenue receipt is the characteristics of capital receipt. You have to be very clear about that. Based upon this understanding, I am placing this question again in front of you, and now you can see that yes, capital receipts creates a financial obligation. So capital receipt can be in the form of a loan. That loan, if taken, has to be returned. So that loan is a financial obligation that has to be returned. So you do understand that option A is correct. Capital receipt can cause a reduction of asset. Like for example, government may sell land to get capital receipt. So yes, capital receipt can lead to reduction of asset. Therefore your option B is also right, correct. It is non-recurring in nature. We have already discussed this. Yes, capital receipt के अंदर क्या होता है कि we are not getting loan every day, we are not selling land every day, so it is considered to be non-recurring. So government may take a loan if it needs it, government may sell land if it needs to, but not necessarily. So this capital receipt does not come in every year. That is something that we have discussed. So option C is also fine. Option D is fine, that it can be redeemable in nature, in the sense that the loan which has been taken has to be repaid, right? So it can be redeemable is something that we have already discussed. So the answer to this question should be none other than E. So I hope that you are very clear that how we have arrived at answer E after due explanation and after due consideration of each and every option. In the examination you can do smart work if you know that two options are correct, right? And then the option that is available is all of the above and nothing else. So you need not read any further. If the two things are looking correct to you, then the only answer that is possible in this kind of a question is all of the above. That is the kind of smart work that you can have in the examination. Moving ahead to question number 2. Now we have discussed the characteristic features of capital receipt. Now I have placed some examples related to capital receipt in front of you. Which of the following items form a part of capital receipt? Borrowing by the government from commercial banks, loans received from foreign governments, sale of shares in public sector undertakings, recovery of loans given to foreign government, all of the above. So based upon the discussion that we have had so far, if you apply logic and if you do smart work, you will be able to arrive at the answer to this question based simply upon whatever we have discussed so far in the last 5 minutes. You have to tell me कि दिए गए 4 आइटम्स के अंदर से कौन सा कैपिटल रिसिप्ट का पार्ट है. बोरोइंग बाय द गवर्नमेंट फ्रॉम कमर्शियल बैंक्स, लोन्स फ्रॉम foreign governments, sale of shares and recovery of loans given to foreign governments, yeah, all of the above. So whatever is your answer, decide that. I am going to place an explanation in front of you now, and then again you will have an opportunity to confirm your answer. Okay, so what are the characteristics of capital receipts that we have seen? We have seen that capital receipts do create liability. We have seen that capital receipts do reduce asset. We have seen that capital receipts are not recurring in nature, and we have also seen that they can be redeemable. This has been explained to you. I will not get into this again. Now let me put in front of you the types of capital receipt, and I will show that how the various types of capital receipt are having the characteristics that we just discussed. This is why we have placed the characteristics again, and this is why we are going to place the types and show it to you that how things are related to each other. Now capital receipt can be two kinds. It can be debt creating capital receipt and non-debt creating capital receipt. Now I get a lot of queries and a lot of mails and a lot of doubts are asked regarding what is the meaning of debt creating capital receipt and non-debt creating capital receipt, because students have this phobia, because this is a huge term, long term, so people think that we can't understand it. It is very simple. If I have to use few words of Hindi, what is debt? उधार. डेप्ट क्रिएटिंग कैपिटल रिसिप्ट यानी कि वो कैपिटल रिसिप्ट जिसकी वजह से उधार क्रिएट हो रहा है. Debt creating capital receipt mean that capital receipt because of which we are undertaking a borrowing, because of which there is a debt burden on us. On the other hand, what are non-debt creating capital receipt? वो प्रकार का कैपिटल रिसिप्ट जिसको उधार नहीं माना जा सकता है, वो प्रकार का कैपिटल रिसिप्ट जो कि कर्जा नहीं है, जो कि लोन नहीं है. यानी कि we are talking about those kinds of capital receipt which is not a loan, which need not be repaid, which is not a debt. So your capital receipt can be in the form of debt, or it can be in the form of other than debt. So that is the meaning of debt creating capital receipt and non-debt creating capital receipt. As simple as that. And it is very important to have this concept right, because we are going to use this further ahead while talking about various kinds of deficit. So what are your debt creating capital receipt? Any and every kind of loan that the government takes is your debt creating capital receipt. So loan from foreign government, loan from foreign institution, loan from citizens at home, loans from RBI, or for that matter if the government sells Kisan Vikas Patra to me and I, let us say, put 10 lakh rupees into the government's treasury, and the government has promised to return that 10 lakh rupees to me after 10 years with interest, right? Because I have purchased Kisan Vikas Patra from the government. So that is also your debt creating capital receipt. So if you look at these types of capital receipt and you see, so they create a liability because these loans have to be returned, because these loans are in the form of borrowing and they have to be returned, so therefore they create liability. They do not reduce asset, but they do create liability. So either और वाली situation होती है, capital receipts either create liability or reduce asset. तो इनमें से एक हो गया तो वो capital receipt माना जाएगा. If either of these conditions is fulfilled, that receipt will become capital receipt. So loans create liability, so this condition is fulfilled, therefore loans are capital receipt. Loans are non-recurring in nature. It is not as if the government is taking loans at a fixed quantity every year. It is not that the government has pre-decided that every year unfailingly it has to take loan, as if it is collecting a tax. Tax is something that the government unfailingly collects, but loan is not something that the government unfailingly takes. So it is not recurring in nature, and loans are definitely redeemable in the sense that the government has to repay the loan. There is no option of not repaying the loan. Now, so far as the other types of capital receipt is concerned, your non-debt creating capital receipt receipt, these are your loan recovery. For example, government of India has given a loan to government of Sri Lanka, and government takes that loan back. Let us say that government of India has given 10,000 crores to government of Sri Lanka, and the government of Sri Lanka is paying that 10,000 crore rupees back. Now, how do we classify that 10,000 crore rupees? Is it the income of government of India? No, not at all. Is it a debt? Is it that the government has taken a loan from government of Sri Lanka for 10,000 crore rupees? No, not at all. So since it is not an income, it cannot be classified under revenue receipt. Since it is not a tax, it cannot be classified under revenue receipt. Since it is not a debt, so it cannot be classified as a debt creating capital receipt. So what can it be classified at? It can be classified as non-debt creating capital receipt, right? So loan has been recovered, that is basically your reduction of asset. Why? Because on that loan, earlier the government was earning interest. On that loan which was given to government of Sri Lanka, government of India was earlier having an interest income. Now since that loan has been recovered, no longer is the government of Sri Lanka going to pay interest to the government of India. So that income, interest income which was coming to the government of India because of the loan that was given has stopped. Why? Because the loan has been recovered. So recovery of loan is basically reduction of financial asset. Giving a loan, government of India giving a loan to government of Sri Lanka, that loan which has been given is asset for the government of India, and it is a liability for government of Sri Lanka. Why? Because government of Sri Lanka has to return that loan. And why is it an asset for government of India? Because government of India earns interest income from that loan. So what is an asset? Asset is anything that can help you generate income. That loan is an asset for government of India. Why? Because it is helping government of India earn interest. That is as simple as that. So if that loan has been recovered, if the loan has been recovered, so what has happened is that what we have done is that our assets have been reduced, our financial asset has been reduced. Strategic disinvestment. What is the meaning of strategic disinvestment? If the government sells its stake in BPCL, if the government sells its stake in IRCTC, that is strategic disinvestment or disinvestment. So basically if the government is selling any asset, if the government is selling any share, are you getting my point? That is basically a reduction of asset, because something which was belonging to the government no longer belongs to the government. So the idea is that, like, let us say for example, government sells 5% stake in BPCL, or government sells 5% stake in IRCTC. So government initially had that stake. Government was the owner of those shares. Now once those shares has been sold, government is no longer the owner of those shares. Money has been received, that is capital receipt. But reduction of asset has taken place because now no longer is the government owner of those shares, right? So reduction of asset has taken place. Is it a recurring thing? Is it like, you know, happening frequently that government is every month or every year selling 5% stake of BPCL? No. Government may have sold shares in this particular year, but in the subsequent years government may decide that it doesn't want to anymore sell its shares anymore. So it is not recurring in nature. There is no frequency, there is no surety that every year that money is going to come in. Is it redeemable? No, it is not redeemable. Why? Because it is something which the government has sold, right? So if the asset has been sold, that is not a loan that the government has taken. So I had said earlier that non-debt creating capital receipt is not redeemable in nature, but debt creating capital receipt is redeemable in nature. So what I have been able to explain to you, I feel, is that non-debt creating capital receipts reduce asset, are not recurring in nature. So your loan recovery, your disinvestment receipt, these are all in the form of non-debt creating capital receipt. Based upon this understanding, I am taking things ahead for you, and I am placing the question again in front of you. Which of the following items form a part of capital receipt? Borrowing by the government, yes, it creates a liability, therefore it is a capital receipt. Loans received from foreign government, yes, it creates a liability, therefore it is a capital receipt. Sale of shares in public sector undertakings, yes, it leads to reduction of assets, right? Therefore it is capital receipt. Loan of recovery of loans given to foreign governments, yes, it leads to reduction of asset, therefore it is capital receipt. Therefore the answer to this question should be E. Now here I would like to bring a very important point in front of you. I have explained to you various kinds of revenue receipts, and I have explained to you various kinds of capital receipts. These are new concepts for many of us. Many of us who are from non-commerce, non-economics background may have heard it for the first time, and therefore they may understand it. But what will happen is that if you don't revise it, after 2 or 3 days this thing will evaporate out of your head, and you may not be able to recall it, you may not be able to recollect it, and it will appear familiar to you, but since the concepts are new, you will jumble up on those those concepts. So it is extremely important that you revise these concepts. That is advisory number 1. And advisory number 2, if the examiner wants to put in really difficult questions for you, what will the examiner do? If the government is selling shares of any public sector undertakings in the present, like for example in the present scenario, government is thinking of selling shares of public sector banks, government is thinking of selling shares of Bharat Petroleum, right, BPCL. So the idea is that the examiner can put a composite question in front of you in which he will send he will give you a paragraph, and in that paragraph he will share with you some ideas, and he will ask you that okay, how many shares are being sold, what is the amount of money that has been generated by selling of shares, okay, who is the MD, who is the CEO of Bharat Petroleum, or they may ask you some question about this establishment of Bharat Petroleum, or they may ask you what is the kind of money, is it a revenue receipt that we have obtained by selling of shares, or is it the capital receipt that we have obtained by selling of shares. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if they place a composite kind of a difficult question in front of you, right, based upon ESI, based upon the current aspect of ESI as well as the static aspect of ESI, that will be a really challenging question to tackle. And that is the kind of approach EduTap is trying to follow, that we are trying to develop a holistic understanding of yours. We are not only teaching you the static part of the syllabus, but we are also linking it with the current part of the syllabus, so that there is adequate understanding on your part as to what is happening in real life so far as the ESI is concerned, and what is the implication of that real life so far as the theory is concerned, so far as the static part is concerned. Suppose we have taken a loan, suppose there is a news item which says that the government of India has taken a loan from Asian Development Bank. So let us say that the examiner puts a composite question in front of you, and he or she asks you that okay, how much loan has been taken, from whom has it been taken, right, when does it have to be repaid, what is the rate of interest. These are all current affairs based questions. And if they ask you what is the kind of money, is it debt creating capital receipt, non debt creating capital receipt, is it tax revenue receipt, is it non tax revenue receipt, they can ask you on any lines. And if they ask you on any of these lines, so the idea is that you should be able to answer that question. So not only should be very clear about the static component, but you should also be very clear about the current component, and if those two components can be converged and the understanding can be merged and married and taken ahead, then that will be very, very helpful. So in certain chapters of ESI, you have to be very mindful of what is happening in current affairs, because a question can be asked linking both those things together. I hope that these things are clear to you. Let us move ahead to question number 3. Now we have spoken a lot about capital expenditure, capital receipt, I'm sorry. Now it is a time to talk about capital expenditure. And I request you and I urge you to read this question very carefully, because things will start looking familiar to you, but you may not really know the answer. So think very carefully before answering, okay? And if your answer is wrong, do not be demoralized or disappointed. We are always in the stage of learning before the examination, and we are sitting much ahead of the examination, so we need not worry. It is non-recurring in nature. It leads to reduction of either physical or financial asset. It can also refer to as development expenditure. It can result in an increase in the productive capacities of an economy, all of the above. The 4 statements there are given regarding features of capital expenditure. You have to tell me कि इनमें से कौन से features हैं capital expenditure के. कोई एक आध है तो आप बता दीजिए. Not one of the features पूछा गया है आपको, sorry, not one of the features. आप बता दीजिए कि इनमें से कौन सा not feature है, feature नहीं है capital expenditure का, या फिर अगर सारे ही है, नहीं सारे ही feature नहीं है तो वो बता दीजिए. तो ये tricky प्रकार का question है, आपको सोच समझ के बताना है. Exam के अंदर what can happen is that many a times, like for example, if you don't observe this not, you can select a completely wrong question. You can you can select a completely wrong answer, as a result of which you will lose marks in the examination. This is you have to be very careful about. You read the question very calmly, you see what has been asked, and if they have asked you a reverse kind of a question, or sort of an inverse kind of a question, then you need to be very mindful of that. So you have been asked which of the following is not one of the features of capital expenditure. It is non-recurring in nature. Is this not a feature of capital expenditure? It leads to reduction of either physical asset or financial asset. Is it not a feature of capital expenditure? It can also be referred to as developmental expenditure. Is this not a feature of capital expenditure? It can result in an increase in the productive capacities of an economy. Is it not a feature of capital expenditure? This is how you have to think. This is how you have to train your mind. Only and only then will you be able to avoid the mistakes. Only and only then will you be able to avoid the traps. Now let me place an explanation in front of you. I'll be giving you an opportunity to solve the question again. So capital expenditure, let us talk about the features of capital expenditure. This is an expense for one-time large purchase of physical assets. So whenever we are talking about capital expenditure, I want you to close your eyes and imagine government purchasing land. Okay, we are purchasing land. So when we purchase land, that can be very expensive piece of purchase, right? And it is not as if that we are purchasing land every month, every week, every day, or every fortnight, right? We may purchase land and then after 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, we may again purchase land or we may not purchase land. So the idea is it is a one time large purchase of a physical asset. It results into creation of physical or financial asset. So we have purchased land, that land belongs to us. We have purchased a factory, that factory belongs to us. We have purchased an equipment, that equipment belongs to us. Are you getting my point? Or reduction of liabilities. So government can repay some of its loan, even that can be classified as capital expenditure. So two things should happen. Either we should increase assets or reduce liabilities through capital expenditure. How can we increase asset? By purchasing something, and that something will then start belonging to us. How can we reduce liabilities? So by paying the loans that we had earlier taken. So if we repay that loan, that will be reduction of liability. So either of these two things should happen. Now I would like to link this back to the previous lecture where we had spoken about revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditure की वजह से asset और liability के ऊपर कोई impact नहीं जाता है. By revenue expenditure, we do not create any asset, we do not reduce any liability. But by capital expenditure, we create assets and we reduce liability. These are the two things that you should keep in mind. जो भी revenue expenditure में हो रहा है उसका उल्टा capital expenditure में होगा. आपको ये अच्छे से समझ में आएगा तो ये अच्छे से समझ में आएगा, ये अच्छे से समझ में आया तो ये अच्छे से समझ में आया, और दोनों ही चीज़ें अच्छे से समझ में आई है तो आप एग्जाम जाने के लिए एकदम तैयार हो जाएंगे. ये चीज़ को आप गांठ बांध दीजिए. प्लीज़ कीप दिस इन माइंड. Capital expenditure is non-recurring in nature. There need not be a fixed frequency at which expenses are incurred. आज land खरीदा, कल नहीं खरीदा. Today we have purchased, tomorrow we have not purchased. It is referred to as developmental or plan expenditure. Why is it referred to as developmental or plan expenditure? Because this kind of expenditure can help us improving the productive capacities of the economy. This kind of expenditure helps in creation of infrastructure. This kind of expenditure can help improve the health education standards of our economy. Health capital expenditure के बहुत सारे types मैं आपको आगे भी बताने वाला हूँ, right? So let us keep some discussion for that. But based upon this understanding of features of capital expenditure, let us solve the question. It is non-recurring in nature. Yes, very much it is non-recurring in nature. So it is not as if that capital expenditure is undertaken every month or every year. It may be undertaken, it may not be undertaken, right? So revenue expenditure and revenue receipts are recurring, and capital receipts and capital expenditures are non-recurring. इतनी चीज आप पकड़ लीजिए. It leads to reduction of either physical asset or financial asset. अब आपको सोच के बताना है. You have to think and tell me that क्या capital expenditure leads to reduction of either physical asset or financial asset, or is it results into creation of physical asset or financial asset? ये आपको सोच के बताना है. Capital expenditure can also be referred to as developmental expenditure. It can result in an increase in the productive capacities of an economy. All of the above. So which of the following is not one of the features? Now this question should be easy for you to answer, and the answer to this question is B, because it leads to reduction of either physical asset or financial asset. ये statement गलत है. It leads to creation of either physical asset or financial asset. That is the right statement over here. I hope that you have appreciated the question that has been asked to you, and I do hope that you understand the gravity of revision and the gravity and the importance of going over the concepts again and again and having it very thorough, because otherwise you are prone to making mistakes which can be very costly in an examination. These are easy to understand concepts, but they are not easy to keep in your mind. For that you need revision, and that revision is something that only you can do and nobody else can do on your behalf. Moving ahead to question number 4. Which of the following can be considered as example of capital expenditure by Government of India? Now, to be able to answer this question, I have placed, let me tell you how I have framed this question. Let me give you a hint, right? Some expenditures, there is a possibility that some expenditures may be revenue expenditures, and there is a possibility that some expenditures may be capital expenditures. You have to identify that which expenditures are capital expenditure. There is a possibility that I'm just bluffing and all the expenditures are capital expenditure. There is a possibility that all expenditures are revenue expenditure, but this is how examiner creates a question. This is what I want to also teach you, that how an examiner thinks is what you should know. So the idea is that you have to tell me that which example is that of capital expenditure. So if you have seen the previous lecture, if you have learned from the previous lecture, you will be able to identify out of these 5 which are revenue expenditures and which is therefore capital expenditure. Should be easy for you. So grants given to other governments, interest payment on loans, acquisition of equipment and machinery, all of the above, none of the above. Which can be considered as example of capital expenditure is the question in front of you. Let me place an explanation. We have already seen the types of, or rather the characteristics of capital expenditure. capital expenditure can be characterized, can be loan dispersal. So the government of India is giving a loan to the government of Sri Lanka, right? So that is basically loan dispersal, and that can be classified as capital expenditure. The loan that has been given to government of Sri Lanka is an asset for government of India. So the fact that government of India has given a loan to government of Sri Lanka, that means a financial asset has been created. Why is it a financial asset for government of India? Because government of India earns interest on that financial asset. Loan repayment. By loan repayment, government of India reduces liability. I have told you that capital expenditure will either increase asset or reduce liability. So if a loan has been repaid, right, let us say government of India has repaid a loan to government of America, right? So that means liability has been reduced. So that is also your capital expenditure. Plan expenditure. So earlier we used to call capital expenditure as plan expenditure and revenue expenditure as non-plan expenditure. Earlier we used to call capital expenditure as developmental expenditure and revenue expenditure as non-developmental expenditure. So your capital expenditure is your plan expenditure. Your capital expenditure on defense. So if you are purchasing, let us say, a ship, or let us say a helicopter, or let us say a gun, or let us say a bullet, or something like this kind of a machinery, or some kind of a tool which is going to be used by the defense forces, so that will be a part of capital expenditure. The salary that is paid to soldiers, the pension that is paid to soldiers, that is revenue expenditure. The money that is spent on purchasing tools and equipments for soldiers, that is your capital expenditure. Capital expenditure on railways, repayment of other liabilities. When the government repays any liability, reduction of liability will take place. If the government is putting up railway infrastructure, that results in the creation of assets. Expenditure on land, building. So land is an asset, building is an asset, machine is an asset, right? So these are your examples of capital expenditure, right? And now you should also remember what we had discussed so far as revenue expenditure is concerned. So if you know all those things, you will be able to answer this question really well. This is the importance of capital expenditure, that it results in the creation of infrastructure, results in creation of productive capacities. It helps in the enhancement of production in the future. So this is the nature of capital expenditure, right? If you are creating an infrastructure, if you are creating, so that is an asset. Government has created road, that is an infrastructure. Government can collect toll, so that toll will be income for the government, right? So road is infrastructure that is a capital asset which can help generate income in the future. It can help in the creation of productive capacity. Suppose, for example, government has established a factory. That factory can earn a profit or a dividend in the future for the government, which will be revenue receipt. But that factory can help in the increase in the productive capacity. It can be the basis of enhanced production in the future. Now, based upon this understanding, I have placed the question again in front of you. Which of the following can be considered as examples of capital expenditure by government of India? Grants given to other governments, interest payment on loans, acquisition of equipment and machinery, all of the above or none of the above? कौन सा एग्जाम्पल है आपका कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर का? अब देखिए, ग्रांट्स और इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट ऑन लोन्स के बारे में हमने बात करी थी व्हेन वी हैड टॉक्ड अबाउट रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर, एंड एक्विजिशन ऑफ इक्विपमेंट एंड मशीनरी के बारे में हमने बात करी व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. सो आई एम श्योर दैट यू आर एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई probably now that the answer to this question should be C, that acquisition of equipment and machinery should be considered as example of capital expenditure. So this is the discussion that I wanted to do with you so far as capital receipt and capital expenditure is concerned. So in the previous lecture I have spoken to you about revenue receipt and revenue expenditure, and in this lecture I have spoken to you about capital receipt and capital expenditure. I hope that you are learning, and I hope that you are doing the homework for the previous lectures. I have again placed homework for lecture number 6 to you, right? I have placed 5 questions. I request you to take a grab of the screen, take a screenshot and do the solution, do find out the solution, do apply your mind and try to come out with the right answers, and do comment it in the video in the comment section. And if you have given the wrong answer, I'll share the right answer with you, and if you've given the right answer, I'll appreciate the right answer that you have given. So I hope that you will solve these questions which are based upon lecture 6. So in every subsequent lecture I'm giving you homework and I'm making you solve new questions. That is our approach at EduTap, that we want to solve as many questions as we can and prepare in an exam oriented manner, so that we are able to scale the peak, such that we are able to clear the examination. With this, we'll bring our lecture to an end. Thank you very much for studying with us. All the very best. Jai Hind.